Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone, starring Dr. George Toulianos, brought to you by his books. That's two. We got Bodybuilding, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and also the newest book, Training, Nutrition, and Supplementation in Bodybuilding, both available on Amazon.com or his website, gtool.com, gtoul.com. Please welcome from Athens, Greece, Dr. George Toulianos. How are you, doctor?
Hello, Ron. Have a nice week.
Yeah.
Good morning.
What's your status on reopening right there in Greece right now?
So this week, actually a week earlier, the malls and restaurants open up.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they have to be spread the tables, outdoors, not
Yeah.
indoors. Yeah. And we have a huge mall also here. It's as big as in the US.
Yeah.
And about the gyms now, the last Monday of June, it sucks.
Oh man, dude, why nobody likes gyms?
What about there?
Huh?
What about there? What about in Massachusetts?
Yeah, that's what we're looking at too. But the gyms are getting together and they're getting lawyers, and we're trying to get it open sooner. But who knows? I hope so.
Oh, next
we're
week,
looking.
maybe.
We're looking at the same thing, end of June, maybe beginning of July.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's phase 3. We have 3 phases for my state, but oh well. Anyway, doctor, we got like 20 questions. So
yeah, let's move on.
here we go, doc. As we know, there are LH, luteinizing hormone receptors, throughout the body. LH has many other important functions also, other than just test production, and on TRT, our endogenous production of LH stops. Are there any side effects of not producing LH on TRT? Also, is it necessary to take HCG throughout TRT to mimic LH as advocated by Dr. Crisler?
Yes, right. Dr. Crisler was notorious for supporting HCG use within replacement therapy in small microdoses of daily or every other day or twice a week in order to mimic the natural production of endogenous testosterone. Now, LH itself won't have any impact. HCG, I'm sorry, won't have any impact on LH within the TRT because LH shuts off. And actually, HCG, which is synthetic GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone, suppresses LH. The point is, it stimulates testosterone in natural people, in natty people. Okay. Now, also under replacement therapy, the benefit of LH is to restore fertility and have some decent sperm production. All right, and also testicular volume, because we know that testicles shrink. And yes, indeed, that there are LH receptors, luteinizing hormone all over the body. And the point is to use microdoses, unlike the PCT, which is kind of moderate blasting at 1500, for instance, or 2000. So microdoses of 250 or even 150 of HCG in order not to desensitize the LH receptors that may happen if you blast for a prolonged period of time the HCG, all right?
Okay, cool. Next one. There is a belief that the most powerful muscle-building supplement is creatine. Nowadays, the fitness industry promotes other, more expensive muscle-building supplements such as Arachidonic Acid, Ecdysterone, Laxogenin, Epicatechin, and Phosphatidic Acid. Do you believe any of them could significantly increase muscle tissue? And could you give us details about Ecdysterone? Is it a miracle supplement which can build muscle without any side effect?
So I have tried all of them. Of course, creatine monohydrate, the monohydrate mainly because we know that it holds water osmotically. So we know that this anabolic environment is based on water retention like the steroids also. So we know that creatine monohydrate is the only efficient anabolic supplement so far that was produced by EAS and Bill Phillips in 1993 in monohydrate form. Later, we have other forms like alkaline creatine, which does not act osmotically. However, it's capable of producing ATP phosphocreatine for muscle contraction. But this muscle swelling within the sarcoplasm, so intracellularly, is capable only by creatine monohydrate. Now, phosphatidic acid, which is also it's produced by Muscle Tech and also by BPI and Cattleya Nutrition used to be because now Jay Cutler has his own brand.
Yeah.
So phosphatidic acid was capable of increasing mTOR, rapamycin, the biochemical pathway of muscle growth. Of course, this may be in a theoretical level, but we know also that HMB stimulates the GH-IGF-1 axis, and also the mTOR, and leucine also, which HMB is the metabolite of leucine, also kicks mTOR. So you may take phosphatidic acid or HMB or leucine mega doses post-workout to kick the mTOR. Actually, fasting and metformin lower mTOR, all right?
Yeah.
Now, ecdysterones, as far as I know, from track athletes, they use it as a legal kind of steroid. It resembles the plant-based steroid hormones, the phytosterols. Okay, phytosterols now they are given to steroid users in order to improve dyslipidemia. Their phytosterols are present in some yogurts, dairy products that may lower LDL and total cholesterol and improve dyslipidemia. Also in milk and in butter, so dairy products enhanced, enriched with phytosterols. But these ecdysterones are also phytosterols that are capable to enhance testosterone synthesis, because we know that a steroid molecule of cholesterol is responsible for the production of all steroid molecules. This is where it begins, the chain reactions. I know a guy where I'm buying from his shop, from his supplement store, various supplements, and he has small quantities of ecdysterone. Actually, it's USADA and UADA do not ban ecdysterones, and there were actually some protein powders used to be from the United States that there were ecdysterones were presented within, and also in Muscle Max was a notorious supplement called Cyclone that was enriched with a protein blend. Was about 50% protein, and the rest was carbohydrates. Also HMB, creatine, glutamine, and ecdysterones that was famous for increasing strength. I tried it and was really good for off season. And now about the arachidonic acid, which was produced. The founder is Bill Welling, and supported this belief that arachidonic acid is omega-6 fatty acid capable of increasing localized and not systemic muscle inflammation that afterwards, with proper nutrition, supplementation, and rest, will lead to muscle growth. And this is based on the prostaglandin, the inflammatory cytokines that kick the muscle inflammatory process. On the other hand, if you take aspirin or diclofenac, you will suppress the muscle inflammation. So it's not a good idea if you feel sore to lower this soreness by aspirin or diclofenac, for instance, because you suppress the muscle inflammation. That it's something valuable, in order to keep muscle growth afterwards.
Right.
I've tried also for phosphatidic acid, and Bill Welling gave me a good offer of 4 bottles when I visited him in Denver. But also I've tried it also in the past in Greece, and I have to say that I felt some soreness in the beginning when I was using, because my arachidonic acid levels would be low. However, as he asked me, I measured my C-reactive protein, and there was no sign of inflammation. So he ensured me that this inflammation was taking place only locally in the muscle trained and not systemically. So it's not this a pro-inflammatory supplement, that may cause a kick in any autoimmune disease. Right. All right.
Okay. All right, cool. What do you recommend for a fertility cycle? I'm in my 30s and have been blasting and cruising for 7 years. I plan on going back on TRT after the wife is pregnant.
Yeah. Also, you should check out your fertility, your sperm production. Okay, a seminal diagram. A spermodiagram. So you have to stay away from ejaculation or sexual intercourse for 72 days, and then keep a good volume over 2 ml and ejaculate. Now, in order to boost fertility, it has to be over 20 million, but the odds are better as the amount of spermatozoa increases. So 100 million, for instance, would be ideal, okay? But over 50 million would be even better. But below 20 million, we have the so-called oligospermia. And azoospermia is 0, is negligible. Okay. Now, vitamin E tocopherol is capable of improving motility, so motions of sperm cells and the the flagella, you know,
Yeah.
which is, we have the head and a flagellum. Now, a typical protocol would be HG, HMG, okay? And also you may use clomiphene and tamoxifen and mesterolone. So all these compounds are able to restore fertility. All right. Now, if within testosterone replacement therapy, you may use also some HG in low dose, HMG as well, and some mesterolone also, which is Provirus, right?
Yeah.
But if you take off the testosterone, you may start using HG, HMG, and afterwards you may use the SERMs, all right, and some Provirus also, because Provirus kicks FSH. Okay, this is the good thing about it.
Right on. Okay. Next one is a little longer. So here we go. I'm 32 years old. I used to do 2 to 3 cycles per year. The last 2 years, I decided to run HGH year round to keep me lean and help maintain some of the gains I get on cycles. My dose is 3 IU 6 times a week, always taking it 30 minutes before breakfast. It feels like the skin around my belly area got hard, like scar tissue buildup from pinning all the time. I thought about injecting it in other places like quads or love handles, but I heard the absorption rate declines drastically. Is this true? If yes, where else can I do the injections? So that's the first question, and then I'll get to the second.
So subcutaneously, you have a lesser absorption rather than intramuscular, because subcutis and fat tissue, adipose tissue, has much less amount of blood vessels that absorb. Okay, unlike the deltoids, for instance, that have low subcutaneous tissue, and you inject rapidly, even with an insulin syringe, into the bloodstream within the skeletal muscle of the side delt. However, there are some indications that growth hormone may act in spot reduction of fat tissue. That's why we used to rotate it periumbilically around the umbilicus, you know. Yeah. So this guy may shoot also in the love handles, if you prefer subcutaneous, you know, in order to get advantage of this localized fat burning process, you know. Oh. Otherwise, if you want to do it straight and increase the absorption rate, you may do it in the delts, you know, where there's no fat over there, and yeah, then the GH gets rapidly into the bloodstream.
So you can really put it anywhere, couldn't you?
Yes. Even some pre-contest guys showed it in the butt subcutaneously in order to enhance the localized, I suppose, localized for burning and have the striated glutes.
That's a good idea. Second question, is it possible that HGH affects the bowel movements or sensitivity? I'm asking because while on HGH, I feel like the food I'm consuming is absorbed much slower and my bowels are almost getting stopped. I tried stopping the GH for a couple weeks and I saw a big difference in relief on my guts. Returned on my regular toilet frequency. So if HGH indeed affects the bowel or guts, what can I do to make them work normally while I'm on GH?
Well, it's good actually for the bowel to stimulate, okay, and to have not to have constipation, for instance, and to have, I mean, diarrhea is not good, but the point is going to the toilet is a good sign unless you have diarrhea, okay. Yeah. So actually, this is true because in people with gigantism, so when they have a pituitary adenoma and they get over 7 feet tall, you know, yeah, they give him somatostatin, which is GH. Growth hormone releasing inhibiting hormone, GHRAIH. So actually, it's the antagonistic hormone peptide of somatostatin, okay, which is GH. And actually, under those circumstances, we have a kind of ileum, which is suppressing the mobility of the colon, of the large intestine, okay. So it is true what this guy has just realized from a clinical point of view. Okay, but I don't think it's a bad sign. Besides, when you have increased motility of the colon, means that your metabolic rate is increased. Okay, so you are able to utilize more food, but also your burning calories process is even higher. So you can increase your food consumption and build muscle easier. You know.
Well, I mean, he's saying that when he's on GH, he does get constipated.
He gets constipated?
Yeah, because then he went off. He stopped using GH and he was able to go to the bathroom again. For some reason, this guy gets constipated on GH.
This is weird, you know, because, yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on. Does zinc inhibit only estrogen or DHT too?
Now, zinc is also a supplement that has some anti-estrogenic activity. Also, you can stack it with creatine and also DIM. DIM is presented in broccoli. So these are three supplements that have anti-estrogenic activity. But also, what he said, also the zinc and
Zinc and DH. He wants to know, does it inhibit only
DHT.
estrogen or DHT too?
DHT is also has an estrogenic activity and actually applied when is locally applied, but also Provirus and Masterone, which is drostanolone and Mesterolone, they have anti-estrogenic activity. Okay, and DHT and Masterone was given in breast cancer where the estrogens elevated before the production of the aromatase inhibitors.
Gotcha. Okay. Next one says, I'm a 24-year-old male. My recent cycle was Deca 200, Boldenone 200, Test 400 each week for 12 weeks. Then did a full-fledged PCT for the next 8 weeks, HCG with Clomid. My question is, as soon as I come off the steroids, I end up with loads of acne on my back and face. I want to know why and what's the best way to minimize it. Should I use Accutane or any other remedies to get rid of zombie acne?
Now he can use some azelaic acid 20%, which is skinner and cream. First, purify this with pure alcohol, 95%. Also use a detergent shampoo, soap, okay? You also UV radiation, so tanning beds may help also dry out the skin. Accutane is something of extreme that is applied to cystic acne, but also he can use azelaic acid or perhaps some clindamycin lotion, or even if a dermatologist is capable to take a sample from this area, then use the proper antibiotics, for instance, amoxicillin. Okay. Also about acne, you have to increase your unsaturated fatty acids, omega-3, fish oil. Okay, stop eating simple carbs, trans fat, and saturated fat. Okay, and hydrate a lot. And also zinc also may help with scar tissue, okay, in the skin.
Okay, cool. Next one, watched all 63 episodes. Good, thank you, sir. And you never mentioned rebound effect after stop using AIs. What makes big problems with gyno in PCT? I see you prefer them and respect your knowledge, but do you think Nolvadex would be a better option to use as it only goes on receptors, no matter what it lowers IGF? Also, I think letrozole, which kills 95% of estrogen, which is responsible for serotonin levels, can induce suicides, especially now in global depression caused by virus. So AI's only pre-contest for max dryness. Do you understand the question?
But the only aromatase inhibitor which is suicidal and prevents the rebound effect is exemestane, aromacin, which is really potent at 25 milligrams. And even if you stop using, it's a steroid molecule actually, even if you stop using it, then you prevent the elevation of estrogens for quite a while afterwards, unlike Femara, which is letrozole, and Arimidex, which is anastrozole. Now, this, of course, they cut off the enzyme, the aromatase enzyme, in order to produce estrogens. If you use the SERMs and tamoxifen or clomifen, then you occupy the receptors, and then the floating estrogens are not able to be to be attached on the receptor. So the floating estrogens are still able to circulate, but they do not become activating the receptors. But in already gyno established, then it is more promising to use some tamoxifen and Nolvadex rather than aromatase inhibitors. Gyno, of course, is a multifactorial thing based also on IGF-1 levels, prolactin, and the ratio between androgen and estrogens, and actually low DHT favors gyno. So it's multi-thing, and some people are more prone or more genetically, let's say, gifted for having gynecomastia. Okay, but it's a different thing having gyno rather than a sore nipple. Okay, yeah, it's another thing. Yes.
Yeah, I've talked about it with O'Connor, but I've rarely used any kind of anti-estrogen, anything, in all my years, and I never got gyno. Just got very, very lucky. So yeah. Next one. Does testosterone build more muscle mass milligram for milligram than any other anabolic steroid?
Now, the benefit about testosterone is the fact it aromatizes, and aromatization and estrogen production is something not fundamental for the muscle growth, because you may have higher synthesis of muscle glycogen, which is energy, because you need the water retention. Now, you have also joints lubrication that are able not to hurt under off-season. You have also elevation of IGF-1, which is the most anabolic hormone. And also you have higher affinity of androgen receptors. This was shown in castrated rats when they cut off the testicles, and afterwards they gave them a very strong anabolic, and the attachment was, the bonding was 500 times higher rather than when estrogens were low and when androgens also presented in the testicles. So it's good to have higher estrogens, and actually the most famous pills, drugs generally for bulking are the ones that aromatize. It's testosterone, it's DECA, it's also dianabol, it's anadrol, okay? But the dry drugs are not capable to do this bulking effect. Now, if you take milligram per milligram of Anavar with dianabol, for instance, Anavar has a higher anabolic activity, but the aromatization of dianabol makes it notorious for the off-season, you know, the bulking effect.
Yeah.
Also the same for Winstrol, all right? Now, about testosterone, testosterone has a 100 anabolic index, all right? I think Trenbolone is 5 times even more anabolic than testosterone, but Trenbolone is a dry drug and does not lead to this retention, you know? So it's not so famous Trenbolone to be used off-season, even though some people use Trenbolone and Amphate off-season, all right? But also for muscle strength, because it's a very high androgenic agent. But also DECA has a slightly higher anabolic activity rather than testosterone, but it may aromatize less than testosterone, okay? So it's both a combination. It's not just about the anabolic activity, but also you should take under consideration the estrogenic activity, all right? Which is something very important.
Yeah, it's funny how guys want to avoid the estrogenic activity, but it's
Off-season, no. Besides, estrogens will favor the lipids, you know?
Yeah. It's just that word estrogen, it freaks a lot of people out. They don't really understand the mechanisms and how it applies to the muscle growth. So yeah, I'm glad you explained it that way for everybody. Next question. I have recently come across multiple articles and videos stating DHT has a negative effect on skin elastin and collagen. I've noticed many bodybuilders have young looking bodies, but their face looks older than their age. My labs showed DHT 146 with 65 being top range. Is it healthy to block DHT in the body, and does Provirus increase DHT? Would azelaic acid help with the collagen?
Now, let's take it one. Provirus is synthetic DHT, just like Master, which is synthetic DHT, but it's injectable. And actually, testosterone is a prohormone to DHT because it's reduced to DHT. Now, DHT is not a villain, it's not a bad thing, because we have positive and negative feedbacks out of GHT, but without GHT, you don't have this kind of male aggression and self-esteem, this speedy in cognitive functions, also the sex drive, the libido, okay? And the negative things about the DHT is the sebum production that may trigger acne, the prostatic enlargement, and the hair thinning, the male pattern baldness, or androgenic alopecia. But without DHT, a man can feel castrated, low self-esteem, no sex drive, foggy mind, you know. So it's not healthy to cut it, because if you use 5-A reductase inhibitors like finasteride or dutasteride for prostate cancer, for instance, or for hair thinning, you may have the post-finasteride or dutasteride syndrome, which is horrible, okay? You have depression, you have erectile dysfunction, you have no sex drive, you have a foggy mind. So, and as a matter of fact, you have testosterone, estradiol, and DHT. Now, if you cut the one pathway, then the other increases. So if you take and the androgens, which is finasteride, dutasteride, then you increase the estrogens, you know, which is also not under balance. So on the other hand, if you reduce estrogens, then you increase the 5-A reductase and the DHT. So it's not healthy to use androgens, okay, unless it's your decision you don't like your baldness, you know, and you want to start using finasteride, but a low dose because you have the side effects. Now, azelaic acid, which is Skinner, we said that before, is capable of reducing DHT locally in the skin in order to improve the acne. Okay, so it kills the DHT in the skin that favors acne. That is about it. Now, other drugs like ketoconazole or minoxidil that are usually applied locally in the hair, in the scalp, they also reduce DHT and they favor gynecomastia.
Wow. We don't want that. Okay. Next question comes to you from, I had to say the name because it's a good Greek name, I think. Giannis Oikonomo. Oikonomo?
Yeah.
A question for Dr. T. Which tests should a natural 40-year-old healthy male do in order to see if his hormones are in check and to see if he can optimize them? Big fan of George here. Hello from Ionina?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ionia, yeah.
Okay.
So we have the HPTA panel, which is the androgens. It's the panel. This is about the hypothalamic pituitary testicular axis. Is luteinizing hormone LH, follicular stimulating hormone FSH, total testosterone, free testosterone, beta E2 estradiol, prolactin, sex hormone binding globulin, SHBG, and sulfated dehydroepiandrosterone, so SDHEA. These 8 hormones are responsible to give you a full idea of what's going on in your axis, your HPTA, and your production, if you have primary or secondary hypogonadism, and whatever that is.
Okay, cool. Next one. My HDL was always low since I was 18 years old. Now I'm 40. I never took AAS, but I have been on TRT for 10 years. I try to elevate my HDL with good lipids, cardio, Naranjan, etc. Nothing helps. I know that testosterone lowers HDL, but was already low before. I'm worried about a heart issue. My cholesterol is low, LDL low, HDL low, and protein C reactive is low.
Okay, now I don't know what his dose is, but if it's over 200 milligrams, then it's more likely to lower his HDL. Now, smoking also lowers HDL. Or mental fat, visceral fat also lowers HDL. So if you reduce your body fat, then it may elevate. And also lack of cardio lowers HDL. Now, niacin, cardarine, which is GW, and krill oil may slightly elevate the HDL, you know. And I have to tell you that now when I stopped, because I also restarted my replacement therapy, but when I was 8 weeks off, my HDL spiked in my personal best levels over 50. Wow. So I guess the use of Deca, Provirus, and testosterone lowered a bit my HDL, you know. But also I was doing more cardio now. So yes, if you use over 200 milligrams and you don't use so much cardio, you smoke, or if your body fat percentage is over 15%, for instance, then try to use niacin, cardarine, and krill oil with every meal, you know, in order to boost HDL, which is kind of more stubborn rather than the LDL, you know.
Right. Okay. Okay, next one. I've suffered with tendinosis of the quad tendons for 3 years. They ache constantly, so I got some Anavar to help repair them, but the lower leg pumps are killing me. From researching, it sounds like I've been sent Winstrol instead, and this makes tendons strong but brittle. Any recommendations to help repair my tendons?
This is true and paradox. Now, Winstrol stanozolol have this controversial effect. Now, on the one, from one point of view, it improves collagen synthesis. All right, and this is what also was in a study in horses that they were injected with Winstrol V. You know.
Yeah.
But also, on the other hand, it dries out synovial cavities because it cuts off aldosterone, the hormone responsible for water retention. On the other hand, nandrolone does the opposite. It favors lubrication and water retention in synovial cavities by aldosterone kick, but they say that Deca may be, apart from masking pain, you know, it may also make more stiff the joints. But yes, Winstrol is a good idea, but the point is, Winstrol has catastrophic effects on your HDL, LDL, SGOT, SGPT. So instead, you may use for tendon diet now, of course, this is an inflammation, all right? You have to use non-steroid inflammatory drugs, ice, okay? And some physical therapy with some hypersonic waves, you know, and some electric current also,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
But also you have to apply for the inflammation diclofenac, okay, or what do you say? The other drug is ibuprofen, all right?
Ibuprofen, yep.
Ibuprofen. Cortisone also is another extreme option. And if you want to nourish the collagen, then you have to use liquid hydrolyzed collagen along with hyaluronic acid for better absorption. And also you may use proline, lysine, that are key elements for collagen synthesis, ascorbic acid, vitamin C, all right? And some glucosamine or hydroetin for the synthesis of connective tissue.
Cool. Yeah, I never heard of Anavar to help heal tendon issues before. No. Okay, here we go. I have been taking 400 milligrams of testosterone, and I take Cymbalta, duloxetine. I just received my lab results. It showed elevated prolactin of 34, where range was 2.0 to 18, and estradiol, ultra-sensitive, of 157, where 29 was a cutoff. I'm having low sexual desire and erectile dysfunction. Just started Arimidex. Is there any natural way to lower prolactin?
Now you have to use dopamine agonist, because what he uses, I think, is either antipsychotic or antidepressant SSRI drug that also increases prolactinemia. Now, prolactinemia may lower sex drive, but also lead to anorgasm, which is not being able to ejaculate. You have to use dopamine agonist, which is either bromocriptine, paralodel, or cabergoline, Dostinex, all right, in low doses. And also he has to lower his estrogens by the use of either anastrozole, or he can use alternative creatine, DIM, and some zinc, you know.
Yeah.
So lower both with either medication and supplements.
Gotcha. Okay. Next one. I ran a bulking cycle. Started on January with 50 milligrams Androl along with my cruise dose of testosterone, 200 milligrams per week for the first 4 weeks. Then another 7 weeks, I ran NPP. Started with 150 milligrams, ended with 250 milligrams per week. And test, I used 400 to 500 per week Sustanon. Throughout my cycle, I used growth with insulin 3 times per week. Then I had to stop for quarantine. I went back to my cruise dose, 200 milligrams for another 6 weeks. Then now I just want to get lean, so I started 500 milligrams of Sustanon per week with Provirus 50 milligrams per day for the last 2 weeks. I don't want to do a long cycle, just 4 to 6 weeks. Then I'm going to go back to my cruise dose of 200 milligrams of test per week. Is it okay to do that?
So this guy goes on and off quite frequently for 1 or 1.5 months.
Yeah.
The good thing about it is that he doesn't get saturated his receptors, you know, because Bill Welling says after 6 to 8 weeks, then you need to elevate the dose. Of course, you don't recover your testosterone production within such a brief period of time. In order to restart his cycle, he has to check his lipids, his hematocrit, and his liver, his liver metabolism, in order to see if it's okay to go on. But I'm sure that as he goes, eventually he will face the anabolic steroid-induced hypogonadism, because there's not enough time to recover. Of course, in this way, you don't lose your gains by the off-cycle, season.
Yeah.
So he keeps his gains, but it's inevitable then after a couple of years or decade to face the late onset hypogonadism,
Yeah. No free lunch, as we say. No free lunch, guys. Okay. Would taking low-dose Provirus, 25 milligrams a day, help to counteract age-related issues such as increasing SBHG, lowering LH, FSH, decreased mental function, etc.? I'm 46 years old and don't take any PEDs, for now anyway, and mainly do calisthenic exercises using my own body weight. Would erythrocytosis be an issue with this drug at such a low dose? I know keeping my eye on HDL, LDL is a good idea, along with PSA levels. Would this drug, Provirus, have to be cycled, or could it be taken continuously if bloods were consistently monitored?
Now, I don't think so. How old is he?
46.
Yeah, so Provirus is a good drug in order to face and um, to improve the symptoms of erectile dysfunction or some kind of moodiness, low sex drive. So he can use Mesterolone 25 milligrams. I don't think Mesterolone will kick his EPO that much in order to face erythrocytosis. Besides, there are people who use testosterone and they never blood donate. So keep an eye on your hemoglobin and then use your Proviron. 25 milligrams, I believe you can use it all year around, but in the long term, then you may have a slight reduction on LH and endogenous testosterone synthesis. But if your SHBG is so high that your free testosterone is tanked, then I guess you have to use Proviron along with some DHEA for some better, more optimized sex drive and better quality of sexual life.
This is a good one. The next one. This is one I would have asked you if I could have thought of it. Do our receptors get accustomed to certain dosages? If one took 400 milligrams of test per week in their last cycle and decides to drop it to 300, 350 tests a week in their next cycle, would the body not respond to the dosage efficiently?
Now, I remember Rich Piana used to change the compounds every 1 month, every 4 weeks.
Yeah.
This is a good thing in order to downregulate your receptors. So first 4 weeks, we use different compounds than the week 5 to 8. The point of testosterone, even with TRT, then you have the same compound. So in order then to start kicking your sex drive, you have to apply also some HCG. Of course, high doses after 8 weeks, they're supposed not to work that much, and the gains kind of hit the plateau. Therefore, either you have to elevate your doses or change or stop. Oh, I'm sorry. So if you are on testosterone, then of course 400 milligrams are not TRT, all right? Yeah. It's actually double of it. But I guess that after the 8 weeks period, then you're not gonna face the same gains as you begin with 400 milligrams. So you may, why don't you then substitute testosterone with trostanolone, which is also an androgen, does not aromatize as a matter of fact. Okay, but you have to inject it every other day because it comes in propionate ester.
Yeah.
Now
that's
for other compounds,
that's Masteron.
Yes. Now for other compounds, you have to change them each cycle to remodel it. Every month. It's a good idea. So change Deca with Equipose, for instance. All right.
Yeah.
Or change Dianabol with Anadrol, or change Primobolan with Winstrol, for instance. All right.
Yeah.
Familiar things.
Makes sense. Okay. How much of a concern is high blood pressure as a risk for heart attack? If my blood pressure is 120/70 in the morning, but 140/80 in the evening, is this considered high? Is the morning reading considered more accurate, or take an average of both morning and evening over 7 days?
Now, the best timing for blood pressure to measure is first in the morning, and actually not in the evening, because we have all the upcoming stress from the whole from throughout all the day, so it's better first thing in the morning, being relaxed. Of course, it's not a good idea to measure your blood pressure when you are already stressed in the morning. You're waking up,
Yeah.
Not in a relaxed pace. And actually, from the left side is better because heart is to the left, and you have to monitor, yes, first thing in the morning, lying down in bed, not standing up, because if you stand up, you're going to have hypotension, and then the heart, as a compensatory mechanism, will speed up, and this speed up in heart rate, we may elevate a little bit your blood pressure, So lying down in bed, okay, before you have your breakfast, okay, first thing.
Gotcha. Okay, now this is a kind of an odd question. Does the oil absorbed from my shots, the steroid shots, break down into calories, or does it bypass that completely? I imagine a 10 cc a week cycle could add up to a lot of calories if that were the case.
No, it's not absorbed from the gastrointestinal system, Yeah. It's just intramuscularly. So either MCT is injectable, which is synthol, is not absorbed, by the by the GIT tract and then utilize as calories, you know.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't mean to laugh at you, sir. The guy who asked the question is just kind of a. I think everyone's kind of probably wondered that at one point or another. But thanks for answering. How much Proviron will keep my estrogen in control with a dose of 75 milligrams of testosterone twice a week? Currently, I'm on 125 milligrams test twice a week, and my E2 levels are 80, upper normal range 60, while I take 12.5 milligrams of Aromacin twice a week. I have around 25% body fat, so I tend to aromatize a lot. I'm currently on a diet to drop weight. When I reduce my test dosage, will I need something less harmful to control my estrogen? P.S. Current SHBG 6.8, super low. Will Proviron drop it even lower and create some sort of a problem, even with lesser test?
Yes, it's not good to use Proviron with such a low SHBG, and actually super low SHBG is linked to aromatization because it spikes free testosterone that will aromatize. So better to let your SHBG to elevate so you can perform some IF or keto diet or intermittent fasting. All right, and also you may use small frequent monodoses as microdoses on a daily basis. So instead of using twice a week 75 milligrams, you can use 25 milligrams every day. All right. So in this way, your SHBG will kind of elevate and lower your free testosterone and your estradiol. Now, stop using exemestane. Is not worth taking this because it will crash your HDL and will lead to other problems as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And for this 80 estradiol, you may use perhaps half a milligram or 1 milligram of anastrozole at once, and then do not take it anymore. All right. But make sure you adjust your TRT in small microdoses, daily one, okay? And do not use Proviron.
Gotcha. Our final question, this came in at the very last minute. I saw a video of Dr. T on pharmaceutical drugs in Greece, testosterone, Deca, oxymethylone, and Proviron. I wonder if the doctor can prescribe these.
Not oxymethylone is not available. It used to be 25 years ago or 30 years ago.
Oh.
As anasterone, actually, which is under 50.
Yeah.
Now, the three steroids that are available is testosterone in 3 forms: injectable, transdermal, and orally. Then we have DEC, and then we have also Proviron. Yes, I prescribe those drugs under cases of hypogonadism, muscle wasting, cachexia, anemia, bone fracture, low bone mineral density, you know. But of course, under minor doses, because you cannot justify, for instance, 200 milligrams of DECA per week, only 50 milligrams of DECA for a brief period of time in order to speed up your bone mineral BMD.
Yeah.
Also, Proviron, yes, is administered perhaps in low cognitive function, erectile dysfunction, low self-esteem, some moodiness, you know, in middle-aged men, and also under high SHBG, and testosterone, of course, under hypogonadism. All right, the classic indications.
Didn't you've said before that there is it DECA and test you can buy in the pharmacy over the counter?
DECA, test, and Proviron, yes.
DECA. Do you need a prescription or you just walk right in?
No, it depends on the pharmacist, but generally, no. They'll lose
their license? Okay. Gotcha.
Oh, the rules are kind of loose, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, doctor, that was 20 questions. Wow. I think that was that our record? I think so.
21 is the record.
Yeah, and you did it in less than 45 minutes. So you're getting good. We're ripping right through these. Yeah, well, that's it, doctor. Success. Wishing you much success with the new book, Training, Nutrition, Supplementation, and Bodybuilding.
In 10 days, I sold about 30 copies, you know.
Oh, right on. Well, let's get some more. Amazon.com, people. You can look up under, probably the easiest way is look under author, Tuliatos.
Yes.
Training, yeah.
And I hope there is some advertisement on the magazine also from August.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Cool. Well, doctor, thank you so much for taking the time. These people around the world, you're getting a real following. People really appreciate what you're doing. So thank you for addressing these questions that nobody else is going to help them with. You know, you're here for all these guys that need it and they have no one else to turn to. So thank you so much, doctor. Cool. Well, have an excellent week. over there in Greece. Let's hope the world starts getting more and more back to normal, please. Yeah, let's get back to the gyms, all that good stuff. Yeah, what do you say? All right, doctor. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching. Ask Dr. Testosterone with Dr. George Touliatos. We'll see you next time.